I'm Gilbert. I'm the Executive Chairman of Meridian Mining. We're a copper and precious metal developer in Brazil, with our flagship project being the Cabaçal VMS camp.
Gilbert, good to see you again. I haven't seen you since June. Are you well?
I am very well. Didn't get much sleep last night, but it's been a fantastic period for our company.
I think I know why. The press release today. Wow. You don't see numbers like that very often. Well, have you?
No. I've been in production, equity finance, private equity finance now for 25 years. And today's announcement, where we announced 26.7 meters at 21.46 grams per tonne gold in the Cabaçal Northwest extension, is without doubt some of the best numbers of they are the most superior numbers of my career, and certainly within the project itself, it's the best they've ever seen. We knew we had this 750 meter gold soil trend. We knew that the drilling done in the 1980s by BP, that was all vertical, had no chance of picking up the very high grade gold structures that BP was mining at the time. So we went through, we stepped out nearly 700 meters from the mine. We put in a hole, we reported that last week, 46, it hit 11 meters, about 5.7 grams per tonne gold. And then we had today, our next step out. We went 50 meters further, and we just hit bonanza. I'm absolutely speechless. It's a complete pivot point in our company. We've got the standalone asset of Cabaçal with its copper gold mineralisation. We saw that on Tuesday. I think we put out 70 metres at 1% copper equivalent, an open pit scenario, fantastic opportunity for investors. But what we have in Cabaçal is we have an asset. We're a resource development company. We have a standalone asset with the Cabaçal mine. And just now, we're really starting to reach out to that greenfields upside that everyone's been hoping for, and we're delivering upon it. And it wasn't guesswork. BP had an historical hole there that went about, I think it was about 2.7 meters at 300 grams. They just nicked a little vertical vein, and that's why they had such high grade. So we came through, looked at the soils. Okay, let's put a 58, 60 degree hole through. 46 came through, step out another 50 meters, 49. I mean, speechless.
No, well, apparently not. You're still talking. We need to stop you. We need to ask questions. Okay. Like I say, super high grades, but just tell us about the process there, because you're doing, you talk about going 700 meters north and then, drill and then another 50 meter step out. So you want to do this properly. You want to come at it properly. Tell us about the process that you've elected to go with, because you're sort of coming towards, what have you got, $4 or $5 million cash at the moment, something like that. I know you got some warrants coming through, which are what? Just remind me, what could that
be? There's about 11 and 30 cent warrants. There's an additional 6 million in cash available there.
You got a bit of cash coming through. So you can't run yourself down on fumes, as it were. So how many drills have been going? And so again, what were you expecting to find? What were you actually trying to achieve with this? You weren't expecting those numbers.
Well, in the northwest extension to Cabaçal, when we look at those grades we saw in the Cabaçal mine, and the benefit we've got here is on our advisory board, we've actually got the senior underground mine geologists. We've got the chief geologist of Cabaçal from the 1980s, and they said, we knew that these high-grade vertical structures within the flat-lying VMS copper gold zone continued. They mined Cabaçal just to the limit of the resource statement, not to the limit of the mineralisation, but just the data that generated that statement. So we looked at that and we went, okay, here's a standout hole up north, which 3 meters at 300 grams or thereabouts. So we knew they were very close to one of these structures. So we went in, drilled angled, which is your standard policy, and 46 hit it. We said, okay, great results. Let's step out a bit. Hit it again. Hole 49. I mean, amazing. The high grade core. I'll read you out some of the numbers, Matt. It's not just one huge assay. We've got over 57 meters. It averages 10 gram gold, 0.3 copper, 1.3 silver. We have a high grade core zone, which is 26 meters at 21.46. Within that, we have individual, not 10 centimeter, but from anywhere from 1 meters to 65 centimeters. We have 377 grams per tonne over 65 centimetres, 137 grams over a metre, 127 grams over 0.5, 123 over 0.7. These are just fantastic numbers. And Adrian was saying, the core is remarkable. And that is exactly the type of high-grade underground gold veins they were mining in Cabaçal. So but what I want to get in contact with our investors and supporters is in the Cabaçal mine, it wasn't just one structure. There were multiple structures coming out of that mine going north, and we've hit one of them. So not only are we open to the northwest and southeast back to the mine, but we've got great prospectivity to the northeast and to the southwest to hit repeat structures that will host hopefully high-grade gold as we've intercepted today.
So, sorry, let me be clear. So the numbers that you've announced today, that's off one of these structures that you've seen heading northeast. Is that right?
Northwest.
Northwest. So, and you're talking about multiple, how many, when you say multiple, how many more do you know about?
Well, if you imagine over a 300-metre width, there's multiple zones in the mapping faces where you see the guys have gone through and hit these high-grade veins. That's what they were focusing on in the mine. So what we're going to look at now is how many more can we intercept? And we actually announced one that was outside of the mine just on Tuesday. I think we hit 3 meters at 12 grams coming out of the mine in an area which they said had no gold, but they never drilled it with an angled hole. So there's the potential now for Meridian. Is we always knew we were going to be a copper, gold, base metal development company. And we're really getting a pivot point where we're going to become striving to develop ourselves to become the next mid-tier precious and base metal development company, and hopefully in the long term or the medium term, the producer. It's just a scenario. It's a career-defining moment for myself, for Adrian, and the entire team at Meridian.
Okay, so you've got 10, 11 million bucks left. So what do you do with it to move this story forward? Because obviously you're getting some nice results out of Cabaçal, right? Very nice, but slightly lower grade. Do you now go chasing these structures because high grade attracts a certain type of investor. And right now, whatever you're, 63, 65 million pound company, market's down a little bit. You're going to need some oomph to this story to get people really excited as you are about this one. So do you go chasing those northbound structures with some of that 11 or 10, 11 million bucks of yours?
It's a really structured resource development program. We've got a rig on that zone. We're going to have a rig on there, just keep punching out holes. And at the same time, we've got Cabaçal West, which is this enormous conductor that we've got. We drilled down, we actually hit overlying sulphides, copper, gold, silver, but that's not the conductor. So we've got the Cabaçal deposit, Cabaçal Northwest Gold Trend, which is just amazing. And to the west of us, this is all within, say, a 1.5 kilometre radius, we have an enormous conductor directly coincident with copper sulphide mineralisation, and we're there to target it. And it's just one of these, if you would honestly, it's like owning Flim Flom in 1920. They're finding mineralisation at surface. It's there. They've got gold domains, copper domains, but it was intact. And what we've got is that same multi-generational, multi-decade potential in a public company, and we're a small cap junior. We're not a small cap junior. We're developing towards a mid-tier company. Our resource, our asset base is that quality.
The asset is, so the company's not, or people's perception of it isn't there yet. So that's I'm intrigued about the strategy, the tactics you use here, because I remember back to when you first started, people were going, "This is nuts. This is a dead and buried project." BP walked away. It's never going to be anything. You saw something different from the data. So how do you take that historic data, the money you've got today, the new data, which you've this very high grade results you're getting, and move this thing forward to be the company that you're trying to describe to me now?
Absolutely. And this is why we've done things like engaging Asenco now. We haven't got a resource statement. We don't have a PFS yet. We're working towards it. But to achieve the timelines of our option agreement to build this mine, we're doing our preliminary scoping work now. We know what it's going to be. We know what the metallurgy is. We know what the tailings characteristics is going to be. We're doing all that now because we've got certainty about what we're going forward in. We'll be engaging our environmental group to our baseline studies in the coming months. We've already we've received the tenders. We're building up a capacity within the management. It's just, this is not sort of one Hail Mary. This is a structured corporate development of a camp scale asset by some very clever people. I'll throw myself in as well on that category.
Well, good. So, but what is it? That's the headline. So what are you going to do?
Well, we're going to be doing the metallurgical studies, making sure they replicate the very incredibly high recoveries that was achieved. We're going to do a methodical rollout of a drill program. We've engaged Hector and Schofield out of Australia to do a resource statement, and they're very comfortable with the data. We're not dealing with data that was put together by a junior company 20 years ago. This is a blue chip mining stock house, BP, Rio Tinto, their data. We're quantifying that data now, and we're using the word of mouth from the people at the mine face to develop the upside. And that, from Rocky and Gilson, they said, look, this is what was there. If you do this, you'll probably find it. Bang. And it's that's what we're going to do, create wealth for our investors. We had opportunity and proposals, good proposals from solid investors back in June. Let's do but it was like a financing, but it was dilutive. We had cash in the bank, and I agree for those investors, they were doing a great job for their shareholders trying to get an entry point. But for my shareholders, it was not the correct way to manage the equity with so much upside potential. Now what I'm doing is saying, look, we took the risk. I'm managing our equities, and it's paid off. We're a massive opportunity now to find repeats of 26.7 meters at 21.4 grams per ton gold. And that's excluding the copper and the silver that's also in there. We had copper up to 2%, we had silver up to 19 grams per ton. It's an amazing, it's a mineralized system at a camp scale with no environmental liabilities to discount our value, being developed by a mining team that's been doing this for the last 30 years in a tier one jurisdiction of Brazil. It's the investment scenario is the potential for equity growth, and this is something that we haven't seen in a generation.
It certainly catches the eye, and that's why I'm intrigued about. And I get you're trying to move things through in terms of the study component. You're hiring the right people. Senko, fantastic company amongst others that you're hiring. And all that kind of admin. So I reckon, I know it's very complicated, and I don't mean to disparage, but it is the admin. As far as retail investors are concerned, they want to see more drilling, more results like that. How much money are you going to be spending on the drilling component? And how often can they start? Will they expect to see these results coming back? For them to look at.
Oh, look, we I think we're about 8,000 meters into the 10,000 meter program, and literally we've got cash and warrants in the money to double that. So, and we're not going to we're not wildcatting where we're going to drill. Well, we're going to drill out Cabaçal West, which is one of the most significant conductors on the project. We're going to continue to do the data certification for the Cabaçal, and that's an enormous project. And then we're drilling out the upside, this massive zone of golden soils with VMS mineralisation that has these very high-grade gold veins, subvertical, trending out of the mine going north.
Right.
And this gold trend is open.
Okay, so let me. I'm trying to be clear because I think I'm excited. I want to make sure I am. So you've got your 8,000 of a 10,000 meter drill campaign done. That was the one which was, in place long before last week and this week's results. Have all of the 8,000 meters been assayed and presented to the market?
No. We've got further. This whole. I think we're up to about a hole 69 or maybe 70 now, and this is hole 49. And our assay schedule is on time. We don't have any delays. There's a whole heap of wealth of information, not only in Cabaçal West or in Cabaçal, but more drill holes to come yet and to be reported into Cabaçal Northwest Extension, this high-grade gold extension.
Perfect.
So we've got, we've invested our money. We've been very careful of how we've taken risk and when we deployed the money. We've been very active in our equity management. We saw that last week when a group of shareholders came together and took out an overhang and took out somebody who created this, I don't know if it was real or false Platt, but we took that out. 1.5 million shares got taken out of the market.
Good.
Probably they should have held, but too bad for them.
Their problem. Right. So you got more assay results of the 8,000 million. Then you've got another 2,000 to do on the current plan, current schedule. All of that will be reported this side of Christmas. Is that right? There's no kind of...
Yeah, and we'll be going out to our shareholders talking about their and they know they have an asset. We have a lot of really strong support from interest from institutions and banks out of Canada and in the UK out of London. We are in a situation where there's an opportunity now for not only the generalist investor or the private entity to acquire stock, but for the larger gold funds or the larger base metal funds to actually get into a project that actually has that multi-decade production scenario ahead of it in a country which is one of the leading jurisdictions for mining,
right?
And supported by 70,000 meters of drilling done by BP and Rio Tinto.
Right. So
these de-risk scenarios just don't exist.
They don't. Okay. You've helped me with the 10th. Sorry to be so pedantic about this. I'm really trying to get at the meat of this because it could be quite exciting here. So this side of Christmas, 10,000 meters will be done and reported into the market. You've got 10, 11 million bucks. How much of which will be spent on new drilling over and above the 10,000 meter existing plan on the northbound structures?
We'll probably do. If we can get all the cash coming in, I think we'll come through the end of the year having a fair bit of money in the pocket. There might be. We are still, even though we've got great opportunity, I'm still keeping the amount of people down. Like we've only got three crews on site because I just don't want to flock in hip humps like 5, 6, 7, 10 crews with the pandemic in the COVID. So we're going to manage that because that's a risk. So we keep that manageable and we just keep rolling out these numbers. And if we're in a small cap junior promoting a one trick pony, you just we're throwing these drill rigs at it. We're not. We're a camp scale developer. We have a standalone proven asset there. We're going to go through the process now of producing our compliant resource statement next year. And we have upside that it's in every other camp in the world, it's gone except for this one. And we're dealing at not at 1,000 meters or 2,000. I think the LaRonde mine, which is a gold VMS project in Canada, I think it's down to 3,000 meters. We're hitting our dirt at 60 meters. Our pay dirt. And that's just something you just don't see. And the scale of it, how deep is it going to go? Don't know. I certainly know at the moment I've got 750 meters of strike, and it's just something that so exciting. How big, how long, how wide. I know that I can potentially have a production asset that could go for maybe 10 or 15 years with the Cabaçal, maybe 20 years with the Cabaçal open pit in a production scenario. And then I got to look at crikey, how many years, further is it going to go for decades? And it's just surreal. Yeah, honestly, it's surreal. It's huge. Look, here's another project. Here's this project.
It's huge. I get it's huge, but I want to deal with the near term because that's what investors are looking and investing into. Some people may sit and go on that ride with you, but there's also a group who say, well, is now the time to get into this because you're going to have to, 10,000 meters complete. I'm going to get an answer from you. 10,000 meters complete. You're going to have to put one drill on the northern, on these northwest bound conductors. One drill. You're not getting any new drills. You're not going to go crazy. So you'll have a steady flow. And that's from today, or is that from after you finish the 10,000 meter plan?
No, it's existing today. It's ongoing today. We've got 3 crews on site. We've got one rig, two rigs, one being double shifted. If it was in a normal scenario in health wise, I would roll out 8 rigs. Bang. Do it. Okay, but we're going to make sure that all of our team has had their vaccine. That's a great thing, great personal relief as me as a director. And what we're going to do is just keep drilling, and keep defining this gold trend that I've not seen in my career. That's coming out of a gold mine, going north. That's actually then got potentially even larger, something larger depth underneath it, and it's all sits around a proven mineralized envelope, which is just, it's fantastic. A lot of the people want security in their investments, and this is what we talk about, security of your asset. Where do you deploy your money? Will I get a return? Will my capital be safe? And for myself, it's just ticks all the boxes. It's just the equity growth.
Can I just ask you about that? Because I always say to people, when you see a company that's moved from 2 rigs to 5 rigs or 8 rigs or 10 rigs, you better start paying attention, because the management's seen something good. They're not going to just blow their capital willy-nilly. It's a big moment. So when you say you would, apart from, COVID situation at play, I mean, are you serious? You think this is a scenario that justifies that?
Absolutely. If we did not have an overriding pandemic situation, which is deadly, and we don't want to be the responsible party for sourcing people throughout Brazil and coming into this one area, because all you're doing is mobilizing. And you got to then work within your management capacity. So that's where we're going to have to expand our management capacity. So as we deploy more people in the field, we have to have competent people there to be able to supply them, logistics, housing, feed them, because we're in Brazil, we're in an area where it's the countryside. So we have to, instead of just trying to rush everything out and then falling over, we'll methodically grow the company and deliver these results. This is not like I said, it's not a postage stamp in a depleted camp that was mined out 10 years ago, which is a scenario of the VMS camps in Canada. We're dealing at the onset of which I think is going to be a long-term production asset. In our first 20, 30, 40 years, as per any analogy in Australia or Canada, is from the shallow at surface dirt. And it's a really exciting time for us. When you see, a swimming pool, a 25-meter swimming pool length of 20 gram gold, you just go, wow.
It's a nice day. It's a nice day. I can tell you're totally excited about it, as you should be. Great. You should be. And the numbers, obviously, from last week were not too shabby either, quite frankly. You've given us a bit of insight as to how you're going to play it, and you got the cash to be able to play it that way, and cautiously and respectfully to Brazilian workforce. I get that. With regards to the market at the moment, it's a pretty, gold, precious metals, haven't had a good time of it in the last 3-4 months. How do you come at that? How do you play that? Do you just get on and say, ignore it, it'll come back, it's fine? Or do you say, well, actually, maybe it's a good thing we're not, got lots of drill results out, because if no one's paying attention right now, what's the point?
Well, we timed it perfectly. This is the Tuesday after Labor Day weekend in North America. And we talked about this a couple of interviews before, when there's a lot of froth in the copper price is strong, gold price is strong, all of these assets that have never been production assets, they float up and they get promoted, and then when the tide goes out in commodity prices and the cycle pulls back, they die. They just go back. And I could roll out a dozen of these things, 10, 20, 30. I've audited them. Meridian is just going to keep going. We've got too much metal. We've got perfect metallurgy, and we're at the surface. We're going to have I believe when we do our studies, we'll have low capex. We've done the estimation on OpEx. I know that. We're in a mining license. We're in what's really considered a brownfields redevelopment. So we don't have that risk. And that's what's going to happen. We're just going to grow this company. We don't have to worry about, what happens if copper goes off 10% or gold comes off 15%. Well, guys, we're going to be mining $1 or $100, $150 rock. I don't know. If it comes off, our costs are going to be maybe around $30 a ton delivered to client. We're going to be cash flow. It's going to be, I believe, with good financial studies, diligent work, methodical processing, engineering hours, will be a fantastic opportunity as a low-cost, long-term producer of precious and base metals in Brazil. And I'm super happy to be there. I've always said, if you're going to invest in the company, make sure that your invested capital can be deployed by professionals. And that's why I kept the Meridian team together. They were professional mining guys. They knew how to go through the permitting processes, environmental, human resource management, Brazil, which a lot of people have always stumbled with. But I could deploy my investors' capital to grow their equity. And yay.